Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network. Going one-on-one once again here tonight. And before I introduce my guest, let me go ahead and just tell you that since the launch of Brevard Sports Network a couple of years ago, I assure you that tonight's interview for student athletes and for parents out there of student athletes in the world of recruiting, I don't think any other interview I've ever done is more important than this one. First of all, because of what we're going to introduce to you here tonight. Second of all, because of the gentleman that's going to introduce it to you. He's been there, he's done that, he's doing that. So without further ado, let me bring on former UCF center and now co-founder of GMTM, Game Time for Athletes, and we're going to have him tell us all about that. Please help me welcome to the Brevard Sports Network airwaves, Mr. Joey Grant. And Joey, first of all, thank you for coming on Brevard Sports Network tonight. And how are you, my friend?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me. I know a lot about the impact that the Brevard Sports Network has in the local community of the Space Coast. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk all things that are relevant to the athletes, to the parents that are trying to use sports as a vehicle to get opportunities. You mentioned, I know a lot for myself, being a student athlete, having to navigate that road of getting a scholarship to college, where I went and played at UCF, and then worked on the other side, working in recruiting at UCF, understanding what colleges have to deal with, just how confusing, how messy the entire process and industry is, and trying to help be a part of the solution, both understanding what these problems are and getting after it. So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's better equipped than you are to discuss the whole from A to Z on this. All right, before we talk about GMTM,
sure.
I want to kind of put this on a tee because I read an article on CBS Sports this morning that as of Friday, 6,610 players had entered the transfer portal in the last academic year, Joey. That's across all three divisions of college football. About 680 schools in those divisions. Let me ask you this about the transfer portal and about what recruiting has become, especially since the pandemic. First of all, I guess my question is, do you foresee a time when colleges absolutely cut back in terms of what they send on the road down to maybe skeleton crews, or maybe it's there now? And will recruiting eventually become an entire online entity with the exception of the players that have to be seen in person?
Yeah, that's a great tee-up question. There's a lot of different angles. Let me just talk to the technology piece first, because I think that's super important, because that highlights a lot of the issues on both sides.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned time and constraints being one of them for colleges and coaches specifically. And, really it is all going to be a measurement of where people are spending their time and effort and for which pools of players. Through our platform, it allows coaches and organizations to create the highest interpersonal type relations in terms of communicating information of, here is our university, here are our facilities, here are our coaching staff. And really, again, interpersonal, I think, is the best word, because coaches and universities through video can put very compelling resources together that educate athletes at scale, nationally. Where, kind of the transfer portal is coming into play is really two things. For the larger Division I, Power 5 FBS universities, it gives them a wider range of organizations to recruit from. Formerly, it was really just high school. Now it's high school, Division III, Division II, Division I AA, right? You're widening the funnel. You're widening the amount of athletes that you need to educate and you need to build a relationship with. On the other side, for athletes, the tricky thing is sports has really not had much technology that provides athletes access, that provides athletes an easy way to see different and learn about different opportunities to advance their career, which is what a scholarship is. That is what playing at the collegiate level is. It's a chance for athletes to continue to use sports as a vehicle to get them opportunities in life, period. The other side of that is, on the education side, again, in terms of what athletes can be able to see, access, how they can get their information in front of programs that can offer them a scholarship. And so technology will play a huge role. It's never going to replace building a relationship completely, but there will definitely be more and more things that colleges have at their disposal to, again, educate athletes, build that relationship even from a distance, and with more athletes that they may have to build a relationship with. But even down to, you mentioned seeing them do different drills and videos in person. There are different ways that we're seeing, with our Olympic partners, NFL teams, where video can be used in much diverse areas where that in-person workout or that in-person thing that a college may have had needed to have 5 or 10 years ago. There may be avenues to continue to see how technology can work to enable kind of better ways to build relationships. A lot is going towards technology, and we like to think of ourselves of being at the center of that mission and that vision. And that is really for athletes. That is to be able to have as many opportunities available, from whether they are 12 years old deciding for the first time that they want to use sports as a vehicle for more opportunities, to being 17 years old really wanting and needing to get that scholarship if that's what they're pursuing, but to have more ways for them to interact, to see different opportunities, easily engage with them, interact in a way that can actually provide a positive outcome for them. And technology is really at the center of that, because technology is what creates more access. It creates more engagement. We've seen that, in a bunch of positive and more recently negative ways with things like social media. But the problem is that there's never been anything in sports built specifically for it. And really where we come into play is specifically for the organizations that are looking to provide opportunities and to be able to more easily communicate what that is and build a relationship with those athletes.
We're here with Joey Grant, co-founder of Game Time for Athletes, GMTM. And Joey, I want to just jump right into this. And there's your website on the screen, gmtm.com. Tell us, researching your site, to me, it ties, there are sites out there that will reach out to coaches. There are sites that will do this. There are sites that will do that. But to me, gmtm.com ties all of this together. So I'm going to just turn it over to you and tell us all about GMTM.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those just listening, he's got our website up. Alan's got our website up. But, really I would think of it for any parents that may be listening that have experience in kind of the job world specifically, with the platform LinkedIn, which is a social network specifically for prospective employees. We think of ourselves as an interactive version of LinkedIn, but in sports. For athletes to be able to build their athletic resumes, as well as for the sports organizations on the other side to best enable them, again, to find athletes, communicate their opportunity, put relevant information in front of them, and connect, engage, and really build a relationship with those athletes. So that I would think of it as a social network, a LinkedIn for sports.
Yeah, and you see, we were just talking about it, and I got it pulled up, the videos on the page. For example, there's a quarterback workout there up on the screen. It ties everything together. And, for you student athletes out there that aren't quite familiar with LinkedIn, just imagine taking your recruiting profile from this site and taking Twitter and taking Facebook or Instagram and putting it all together on one, making one spot where you can be found, where you can be noticed, where you can be recruited. This is it, isn't it, Joey?
Yeah, that's very much the goal. And, to talk on the example that you were just showing, Elite 11 is the most advanced camp circuit, right? Grassroots company. They have been working with the top quarterbacks the most valuable athletes in sports, really the quarterback of football, and basically getting them to camps where they can showcase their skills. They can simulate what an evaluator like a scout or recruiter may want to see in terms of how they throw the football, how they put together a series of throws. They use our platform because it allows them to provide athletes more access all across the country. They have about 12 events that are confined by location, athletes that might have to pay to go travel, stay in a hotel. They can only see and work with so many athletes. They use our platform so that any athlete can see Elite 11's brand. They can interact with things like their digital combine, and where they can submit their virtual pro day script. They can, from their front yard with a trainer, record relevant information that gets them in front of Elite 11's elite staff. But also, there are other college coaches where, in the same place that you're able to upload a video of these meaningful throws for an Elite 11 evaluator, this is really relevant for a college coach to see, where college coaches, their organizations are also on the network, right? The social network aspect, to be able to see this information, very relevant for athletes. It's all completely free for athletes, where the organizations are paying for the tools and the support that we're giving them to facilitate and to have the best relationships with athletes, which is really, really key to our mission, again, of creating more access, where there are organizations and ways for athletes in all different stages of their career at any time during the year to be doing and interacting and uploading videos that are going to be really helpful to getting them an opportunity.
Now, if an athlete wants to become a part of the GMTM.com, do they just go right here to the website and then go up to the upper right-hand corner right there where it says sign up and begin the process?
That is exactly right. Click the sign up button. It's going to be completely free. As you come in, there's going to be, if you have a Twitter that Alan mentioned, you can just sign up really simply by clicking the sign in with Twitter. You can sign up with email or a mobile phone number. As you do that, you'll be dropped onto the site where we're going to look to ask you some questions of, what is the age range? GMTM is for athletes in youth sports and high school, even collegiate athletes and professional athletes that we help them in their video content, build their career, work with brands and sponsors, but understand which stage of the life cycle of an athlete are you in and what sport are you most interested in. And based off of that, we then begin working to customize the experience, showing you the different organizations, events, or athletes that might be most relevant for you to see, to interact with as you're on your specific journey.
I think one of the biggest things here, and for me, Joey, for these kids is the recruiting experience. Well, let me just ask you, what was your recruiting experience like from Lake Brantley? I know there are a couple different opportunities you had in terms of where you could go to school. I think I read Navy, East Carolina, Colorado State were among some of the schools that you could choose from. Every student athlete, recently Jamari Lyons right here in Vieira committed to Florida, and I asked him how his recruiting experience was, and to me today, these student athletes, they never say it was a joyous process. It's filled with stress. Some of it can tend to affect their performances in the classroom, and I think that all ties into options out there and pressures. And so, first of all, how was your recruiting from Lake Brantley to UCF? And then we'll get into the other part of that.
Yeah, sure. So me specifically, I think very similarly to, unfortunately, the state of just a lot of things in sports that contain athletes, again, pursuing an opportunity. I try to make it as agnostic as possible, because it is really bad in recruiting, but recruiting is one area of an athlete's journey where it's very evident how bad it is. And it's poor because of how fragmented sports is, because of the lack of technology. And from my experience personally, very similar to, I'm sure, a lot of athletes or parents, where if you were to go survey and ask 10 or 15 of them, what is recruiting about? Where do you start? What are the best practices? You're going to get 10 or 15 completely different answers. And most of them are going to be still somewhat uneducated of them trying to look and pursue and find more information. And on the other side of that, you have coaches and colleges who are desperately trying to get their program in front of these athletes in a way where they can't measure, they can't understand what more information can I put in front. How can I better educate the opportunity that I have? I tried to use a recruiting service. It didn't actually work for me. Personally, I think a big problem, was a first, mistake that I see students or parents, student athletes making is not just taking control of the fact that, again, it's going to be up to you to put yourself in a position to advance your career, do the things that are necessary. And when you kind of work with third parties, you begin to relinquish that control. And now you're reliant on a middleman, a kind of secondary person into the equation that you're relying on for information. And so for me, I didn't know a whole lot about the recruiting process. I was a 3-sport athlete, and actually I started getting recruited first for baseball and got some of my first opportunities for baseball. Football was my passion. That's really what I wanted to play. I started getting, looked at and recruited and offered my junior year on the football field. After roughly a season of getting tape on film, putting a DVD together, sending that out to coaches. Again, it was very, very manual. Even in these days, though, it's still, tough to understand where you can go to properly be seen. Learn about different colleges and then seen. Fortunately, there's kind of a filter where athletes and parents, if you become, enough people become aware enough that coaches then can, reach out to you, that is kind of the turnover point that really helps guide athletes. And so for me, starting to get reached out to for baseball, then through football as well, there was a lot less information that I had on where I could potentially go for football. Mm-hmm. But really it was myself, my dad, emailing different coaches, showing up and getting to campus. Fortunately, my family and my parents had the resources to help me do that. But it was going out of my way to really discover what opportunities are out there. And a lot of that, I think, is still what exists today. There are some better resources of where you can store your video, of having a Twitter. Part of the constraints these days is that there's a lot of these fragmented areas where you can spend your time. And athletes and their parents a lot of times don't know, but what is the foundation? Like, what should I absolutely be doing? And what are the other areas that I can maybe explore? But understanding kind of foundationally how I can better get exposure, better get seen.
To me, it's just a fascinating process to what it has become. And, it's funny because I heard a college football coach say just the other day that he was exhausted. And I won't name the college coach because, quite honestly, Joey, I thought it was an embarrassing comment to have heard him say. The college football coach said he was exhausted and was so happy that the end of the transfer portal shuts down May the 1st. So you can no longer recruit off the transfer portal. And that entire process had just exhausted him. Not the fact that he had been out visiting recruits. No, it was the fact that he was recruiting off the transfer portal. And I was like, well, we have come in an entirely different light here these days, because certainly I get it why a college football coach would be exhausted hitting the road, traveling this plane, this town, that town. I'm still trying to put it all together. And maybe I just don't know enough about what it requires to recruit off the transfer portal. But to me, it really seems like that this transfer portal, and you heard me say the number earlier, 6,600 kids across 3 different divisions, has really had, to me, a negative impact on this game.
Yeah, I think it's different, positive or negative. I think it depends on the perspectives that you're looking at, the athlete perspective, the coach perspective, the fan perspective. There's a lot of different factors that are going into play. What makes sense of why that coach might feel it's exhausting is you're now adding another layer to the process. So True. In addition to the territory that he's running, the different high school relationships he's building, what he's thought he's known and felt comfortable about with a recruiting process that for coaches, especially at smaller schools, is already a lot of work. There's now another element of a certain mix of guys that I have to figure out what's the best process to learn about all of them, to, about who they are as players. Am I interested? then to actually build relationships with them in addition to the other work that they have to do. To be fair, it's a very confusing kind of landscape.
Yeah.
There's no tool, there's no systems or softwares or technologies that are built to help coaches in any way, or really help athletes to find a more to find a better common ground to meet and to build that relationship of, I'm organization A, I'm looking for these type of athletes, I have this to offer. What are the athletes that are then more easily able to take work off of my plate, to show their interest, to show their capabilities, to show all of the things that I need to see and to know to truly fulfill that opportunity in the way that my organization and institution has kind of set out the parameters.
A few more here for Joey Grant, former UCF center and co-founder of GMTM. And if you want to know what GMTM is, take a look on your screen there. There's the website for it. GMTM is it's a social network for athletes, coaches, trainers, industry staff. GMTM enables athletes from all over the world to connect directly with the industry's top organizations and professionals, coaches. You can create, if you're an athlete, you can create a free profile on the website. GMTM is partnered with industry leaders like the U.S. Olympic Committee, Volleyball Canada, various professional teams, major universities and colleges, and even registered with NCAA scouting services. Again, you log on to gmtm.com. You go to the upper right-hand corner. Right here, I've got it highlighted for you. Click the sign up button. You can sign up with Twitter. I know all of you have Twitter out there. You can sign up with an email or sign up with your phone. The point is sign up, because I'm telling you, Joey and his staff, they do a tremendous job with GMTM, and this is really going to be the service, I promise you, you'll be glad that you signed up for. Joey, I guess I gotta chime in here and ask you about your days at UCF. I'm very right here on the desk is an old Coco Tiger helmet, and the head coach at Coco is Ryan Schneider. And, of course, Coach Schneider played some quarterback over there at UCF. You were a center at UCF. I'm assuming I looked on your bio there, and it said that you started all 13 games in that 2013 season. That was the year you went to the Fiesta Bowl, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Coach Schneider last weekend, and I don't know if we can see the video back here, but this was that Fiesta Bowl year.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
And then my roommate was Blake Bortles, our quarterback at the time, right there. But yeah, this was my jersey from that season, and started all 13 games. We finished number 10th in the country. Had some pretty special wins. Very memorable season. Obviously, I looked a lot different back in those days, for better or for worse, But yeah, those were some of the pivotal days of UCF, and went there because really wanted to build tradition, be on the coming age of the change that was coming in college sports, and we were able to do that, and had 5 really, really good years at UCF on the offensive line, and got to experience some pretty special moments like that 2014 Fiesta Bowl, technically the 2013 season, but beating Baylor. Going on to win the back-to-back conference championships in the American Conference. Now to see that we're in the Big 12. Some very special, very formative kind of moments for the university, and just a load of fun in terms of a college career.
We see now, Joey, where you have, of course, Gus Malzahn, and we're talking about technology in college sports, specific to college football. UCF with the barcode jerseys, which was really cool, I thought, which was neat. And I know that what's that?
No, yeah, absolutely.
That was cool. And I was going to say that I know that Coach Schneider stays in touch with the program. He constantly has UCF over at Coco. The state of UCF football now with Coach Malzahn, I don't think, obviously there wasn't, a New Year's Six Bowl in the last couple of years. But look, I really feel like this program is headed in a great direction. I like Coach Malzahn. I like the direction the program is headed. What about a guy that played for them that's close to the program? How do you see it?
I see it very much the same. I think there's 2 things I look at. One is just there's something about UCF. It's kind of transcended through the Coach O'Leary era. He was able to, harbor it, polish it up. We were able to kind of do what we did to build the foundation. I think it always innately attracts a lot of people, talented people, players from whether the classes where we were recruiting only 2 stars and getting really impactful NFL players, NFL caliber talent. That will only continue to rise, and we're already seeing that every year. UCF's able to attract the top talent in the state, as well as now when you think of the transfer portal, a lot of people are going to want to go to Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
And they're building that system even outside of just playing in the X's and O's on the field to be a really attractive product for student athletes to build talent for a long time. Separately, Coach Malzahn specifically, I think he's the perfect type of coach for the program. Somewhere where he's been a lot of different places, from smaller level Division I football, high school football, Auburn, as big as it gets, now back at UCF, to see all of these different diverse kind of experiences and programs that he's worked with, to understand exactly what he needs to do to get the best talent there, and to put a structure and a team together year over year to go out and win football games. And so he's an excellent coach, even just X's and O's wise. But I think culturally, I think he's a great fit for the program. He's a guy that everywhere he's gone has tried to put his own twist, put his authentic self and version into that program, and netted out really great results. So I'm super optimistic about Coach Malzahn specifically, and UCF in general. I'm very, very bullish, not to use a USF term, but very much a believer through and through.
I tell you, he doesn't feel like a coach. It's a stepping stone to something else, and that's what I really like about him. And I guess I'm going to wrap this whole thing up with, looking at what you did, seeing how you were a semifinalist for the William Campbell Trophy, which recognizes the absolute best football scholar athlete in the nation. The Warfel Trophy, which combines exemplary community service with athletic and academic achievement. A guy with your intelligence and community involvement. NFL players always say, man, I wish I played now because of the money that these guys make. What's your thoughts on NIL, and had they had it when you were playing, maybe what you could have done with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the lens that I view sports, and really our company at large, is, sports are the best vehicle for opportunity that help equalize opportunity, period, for athletes, for families, for different communities. And, again, thinking through the different trajectory of student athletes, name, image, likeness, or the ability for a player to build their brand and really capitalize that monetarily, that is, in one specific segment of the athlete's journey, widening the amount of opportunities that are available. I think the tricky thing right now is that, again, because of a lack of infrastructure and processes and technology and systems, right now it can be seen as distracting for an athlete, where I got to create content. I might need a YouTube channel. I have to become influential in order to, for brands and sponsors to feel confident giving me dollars to go, do X, Y, or Z, right? While I also have to be the best athlete that I can be. And so, for my time at UCF, I really enjoyed doing a lot of the interviewing, doing a lot of the content, a lot of the things that gave fans the inside look, connected with them in different ways. I would have loved to have been able to do different things to, more professionally capitalize on that while I played. I was really into scouting, evaluating, working with different agencies in terms of just evaluations. Content is really popular around all of those different things. So in hindsight, I think, there's definitely more ways to help athletes to be able to explore their interests and do things that are valuable and are influential that allow them to make more money. Luckily now, through GMTM and all of the things that we're building, we get to really revisit this and work from the ground floor with organizations like the Olympics, like premier colleges, all the way even through Division III, understanding, how can we best allow your athletes to tell their stories in a way that brands, sponsors, organizations find valuable, and want to kind of help provide resources to your university, your organization, to your student athletes.
Was it wise for the state of Louisiana to pass this at a high school level?
If the state of Louisiana wants to attract talent that is looking to monetize various opportunities, then one could argue that I think it's smart, and we're in the very kind of first innings of all of this, and I
Yeah.
think you'll really see, in terms of high schools and athletes leaving different states for different reasons or opportunities, how what are really the outcomes of these, and I think that'll fuel a lot of future decision making. But I think any state that wants or organization or anything that wants to be more visited by talented athletes or have them spend their time, they have to think about what are the services that we're offering athletes that live in our state or want to pursue sports as a vehicle for opportunity, at this stop, at this juncture. And I think that's kind of how I view it, is that's how you're seeing decisions be made by athletes, their parents, et cetera.
Well, Joey, I can't thank you enough for taking the half hour of your time. I know how busy you are. And once again, the website is GMTM.com. And there it is. Once again, I'm going through this as many times. Click the sign up button. You can do it with Twitter. You can do it with email. You can do it with your phone. The important thing is, I don't care how you do it, student athletes here in Brevard County, just do it. And I think that's the most important key here. Joey, thank you so much. And I'm going to ask you with this, if there were only one thing I would ask you to tell us about GMTM and why it's so important, what would it be?
It was built out of the future and the vision that we have, that sports is being rebuilt in real time right now around athletes. And it is completely free for an athlete. Our tools are built for you to build out your true athletic resume. Upload all your social medias in, upload video, anything that you're doing, whether you want to just talk about your passion for your sport and your goals and the areas of success you're trying to drive to, whether it's recording your weekly or daily kind of training regimen, all of your results, or your highlights, your kind of best moments. Your profile should be any of all of these things. It's completely free for you to do. You're going to be able to view analytics, who's viewing you, compare your profile to other athletes, all in the spirit of maximizing sport as a vehicle for opportunity. All of the payment, charging, all of that stuff, let us figure that out and make it that valuable for organizations to want to use the software to best connect. But for you, we're maximizing access. So take advantage, like Alan's saying, sign up, reach out to me directly. We want to learn and best understand how we can help you get to the next level.
For Joey Grant, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski, one-on-one right here on the Brevard Sports Network. Have a great night, everybody.